We're live at Expert35. I'm your host, Gabriel Garcia, and as promised, bringing you experts from 35 different, I was going to say countries, but 35 different industries, talking about the challenges, the hardships, and the opportunities. Well, today we're just going to talk about caffeine, man. We're going to be talking about coffee, sourcing it, blending it, making it your own, and who else to bring on board than Harrison. Harrison, thank you so much for coming on board from West Coffee. How are
Thank
you?
you. Yeah, awesome. Great to be here.
Man, it's going to be such a good show. Everybody needs their coffee. People are getting back into the grind, a pun totally intended. And I think the world is just like opening up again, but there's this whole
It is.
COVID thing just made us realize how important those little things are, like better coffee, better food. You know, people are going towards organic, people are going towards natural, and so
Local.
before we get into it though, guys, text Expert35 to join the conversation. This is, we say 35 experts. Man, Harrison, Expert75. If you want to get information on how to get West Coffee Company delivering directly to your home or your office, man, and even the K-Cups, we'll talk all about it. Text Expert75 and you'll get info on how to get coffee right on you. So before we jump in, man, Harrison, how did you get into this?
Awesome. Well, thanks again for having me. And yes, it is great to see the world opening back up. But yeah, how did I get into, I guess, the realm of coffee? And even before that, just the food industry. I worked in the food industry throughout high school and just growing up. But my mother was actually a pastry chef. And so from a very young age, always kind of had, thinking about different flavors and all that. And growing up, I just really admired my mom's passion for pastry chef and her career in that. But I kind of took that and found a pretty deep interest in coffee. And as I started a career going down that route, got really interested in the different flavor profiles, but then even more so the origin and where it's coming from plays a role in flavor profiles. And then specifically what's growing as locally as possible in the realm of coffee, and focusing on what's growing in our backyard here in North America versus, a lot of the other continents. And so, in 2019, I started West Coffee, and been signed our lease for our roastery here in Houston, Texas, and have been roasting coffee ever since.
That's so amazing. I totally get it. My mom also owns a bakery, so like having just those smells in the house, right? Like I knew what season it was. I knew what day of the week it was based on how the house smelled. So I can only imagine how that infused into your coffee blending and your taste, right? Because coffee is not about strength always. It's about the balance between strength, profile, density, and really that flavor, right?
Right.
Now, more and more people are roasting at home because of COVID, right? So speak to that a little bit. Speak to like, what are you seeing in changes in like what people have at home and what that's making?
Yeah, so everyone kind of being locked up the past year at home has definitely shifted the world of coffee a little bit. I think people are more focused on and considering where their coffee is coming from, and then also how it's being roasted. Is it a lighter roast, medium roast, a darker roast, and then what type of equipment do they have? Are they able to properly grind it fresh there and then brew it the way they want to? And so with all those considerations, it's kind of opened up an avenue and just discussion in the industry on, it's not just opening up a random bag of ground coffee and putting it in a Mr. Coffee anymore. It's okay. So, who are we supporting with this coffee? Where is it coming from? Is it fresh? And thinking more, going back to the flavor profile, is it what I want to see in a cup of coffee?
That's exactly right, right? So let's talk about sourcing because you just barely started touching on it. You know, one, you guys do a lot of interesting sourcing because you guys get your coffee from, Puerto Rico and other parts of the country and other parts of the world. What's important about that sourcing piece?
Yeah, I think one, we were different in that we source 100% from North America, and that is just as local as you can get in the realm of coffee. So you're not paying for import tariffs and freight costs to bring it in, from halfway across the planet. These are coming in directly into the port here in Houston, and then we're roasting it fresh. So on a freshness standpoint and a value standpoint, it's going towards supporting local farmers. And then all along that same grain is, we feel great about being able to support farmers in like Puerto Rico, for example, who got hit really hard in 2015 from Hurricane Maria and have been slowly trying to gain their footing again. And, this is now the 5th year after that hurricane, and those trees are starting to see their first mature coffee crops. And so it's just a great bonus to be able to support American farmers in Puerto Rico, and then also in Hawaii on the two frontiers there, and have an open dialogue with those farmers and knowing how their crops are doing on an annual basis.
Yeah, you actually know the source, them. That translates one to better quality and an understanding of what your product's going to be like, right?
It does, yeah. It translates into better quality and also consistency, availability. So I
Mm-hmm.
know, in Puerto Rico, it's like, okay, Roberto, how are we looking on, this order, or what are you seeing in this year's crop? And it's nice to have that personal level dialogue with your, direct source.
Right. So it's super important to know where it's being sourced from. That makes it, the quality is better. You'll know if there's pesticides. You'll know how it's managed, and you give them back. I love that you're involved with the U.S. We already have all kinds of questions. So, actually, this is a pretty good question about sourcing. What is fair trade coffee? Greg Stevenson asks, what is fair trade coffee?
Yeah, well, fair trade is just how it's a certification, is what most people kind of associate with it. So it's farms that have then gone through the checklist of, okay, are they adhering to employment standards? Are they, what are the conditions for upholding those standards? And but unfortunately, it's kind of gotten a lot of attention because you have like farms in Africa or other regions that aren't as strictly regulated. And fortunately, since we source from American farms in Hawaii and Puerto Rico, fair trade becomes a little bit redundant because they're getting paid $15 an hour and have extremely good working conditions, and so they don't really bother to get that fair trade certification. But for when you're looking to source from other continents, it's important to kind of consider, okay, are these conditions something that I want to support, or is it something that's not, you wouldn't want to be treated that way, so why am I going to buy coffee where people are going to be treated poorly?
Right, right. And you already have a little shout out. Shauna Tatum is saying love local farmers, so like they know, they love that you're sourcing locally from the United States. Jennifer's got all kinds of questions. First of all, she wants to know if you're giving away free samples.
Oh yeah, I can definitely do samples. I actually, so on the website, I don't know if any of you have been able to get on there. Jennifer, thank you for the question. But if you use, I have a one-time discount code, just sample all caps. That will get you 20% off of the coffee if you want to try different ones. It's a little hard to do free samples with folks during the pandemic here, but I've hopefully going to have some events up at a roastery in June, so there will definitely be coffee, free coffee up there. And then I've also, through our BNI group, we trying to work with a number of different service-based companies to just kind of hand out our K-Cups to those people in the community to continue to get our name out there, and it helps us support farmers in Puerto Rico.
Perfect. And we'll put some of that notes on the chat itself because we've got quite a bit of a conversation. Greg's got another great question. If you have to drink decaf, what kind of processing result is the best, or what kind of processing results in the best taste?
Yeah, I use the Swiss water process for our decaf. I think that does a good job of removing all the caffeine. Basically, you submerge the beans in kind of a solution that extracts out the different molecules, and then you add in a compound that binds with the caffeine, and then that bubbles up to the surface, and you're able to scrape that out. And then as the water cools back down, the flavors able to be retained back into the bean itself. And so I think that process is probably a very effective and widely used process. And I really enjoy our decaf, so think it works very well.
And you guys offer decaf as well as part of the...
We do, and our decaf actually is highly reviewed and rated. When we were going through a number of our highly opinionated R&D sessions, we lined up a number of different decaf coffees, and a lot of times you're like looking for little subtle differences in cups that make them slightly better or worse than each other. But the decaf in that particular session, it was immediately stood out as, okay, that's the one. And so that process made it really easy for us as we were looking at our different options. And that's partly where it's grown. It's grown at like 5,000 feet of elevation. Mm-hmm. And the Swiss water process, I think, works well.
Great question from one of our viewers. What's your personal favorite coffee?
It is from Puerto Rico. My friend Roberto down there, which hopefully I'll be able to visit this summer. He produces just awesome coffee, specialty grade, and is by far my favorite. And so much so that at some point down the line, I would like to have my own farm in Puerto Rico. But for now, that is the single best coffee I've had to date. And I've had a lot.
Awesome. Shauna's giving you a shout out that she's glad to use the Swiss water processing. She is a nutritionist and she's been an expert on our show. So it's good to give her a quick little shout out on there. Let's talk about, whole bean versus ground. Like, what is the big difference, and what would be the process for buying that? And give us some background on that.
Yeah, that has definitely become a more popular topic in the industry today, and I think it's great conversation because it's such an easy way to improve the quality and flavor profile of your cup of coffee, because grinding it fresh just makes the cup infinitely better, because after you grind it, depending on how fine of a grind it is, but immediately the flavor starts to dissipate as you break open, the exterior shell of the bean. And even you'll see, and I used to work at a coffee shop. If you're grinding an espresso, for example, if you let that sit on the counter for 2 minutes and then try to brew the espresso, it's not going to taste anywhere near as good or complex as if you grind it and pull the shot immediately. And some places I know in our shop, we would discard a shot that was pulled and had been sitting for even a few minutes. So I think grinding the coffee fresh definitely plays a very big role in getting that cup of coffee that you want.
And I think that's important because one of the things that we were saying, if you want to get fresh coffee, you kind of want to look at the date it was grounded if you're buying grounded, right? And how can we find that out? Because you guys ground to order almost, right? So what are the options?
Yeah, well, it's different. It's, I would say, roast. You want to look at like the roast date, not the ground, because I would say you should be grinding the coffee the same date you're drinking it. But the roasting process, I would definitely try to look for something that hasn't. One, if it has a roast date on it, you already know that it's going to be more fresh than something that likely doesn't, or from the grocery store where it's been sitting in a warehouse for months and then brought in to present on the shelf. So buying directly from a roaster, is going to be infinitely fresher than something you're going to find at a secondhand retailer, just because they don't, they're not able to keep it that way. But there's other things in the industry that help. So, our bags have, nice like inner layering on it that, contain the flavor profile of the coffee a little bit longer, have a one-way degassing valve, which kind of limits the exposure the beans have with external environments. So there are some considerations, but having coffee that's been roasted within, a 2 week to a month period after the roast date is good.
And if you're buying it off a retailer, like if you go to a supermarket, how many months out could it be? Like how bad how bad can your coffee be?
It can be bad. I mean, especially, if it's not like a popular coffee and it's not flying off the shelf, so they're not turning inventory as much, and it's more, more of a specialty type that they're not moving quite as much inventory. I wouldn't be surprised if it's been over a year since some of those beans were roasted.
Wow.
Which just could be very stale. And so I guess some kind of indicators for that, we found that going through since we cater to a lot of different office buildings and kind of like convenience stores and with higher end convenience stores and just other communal environments, we typically see the coffees that are getting thrown out the most at the end of the day are flavored coffees. So even though you think, a Cinnabon flavored coffee or some sort of creme brulee coffee sounds really good, it actually does not perform nearly as well as, a staple, good classic breakfast blend or something. So that typically gets thrown out quite a bit. So wouldn't be surprised if at the grocery store, those are probably some of the ones that kind of been sitting there a while. So be watching out for that. And then also, as much as the third wave coffee roasting industry has gone towards lighter roasted coffee, we actually still lean on the medium dark to dark roasting. Lighter coffees tend to get thrown out a lot as well. So same kind of transition there to possibly the retail world.
Greg's got an interesting question. Does organic make a difference?
I would just honestly say no, because I think organic makes a difference in all kinds of different food categories, but for coffee specifically, since it is such a especially in the US, it's a regulated, agricultural practice, and they don't have the need to make as many kind of alterations to the coffee growing process as maybe some other crops. I think that a lot of the coffee is actually just inherently organic, and you'll find that a number of different sources. They just have to go through the process of getting certified and paying several $1,000s to have third parties come and do that and then pay for the certification. So a lot of people, and our coffee included, they don't actually pay for those certifications.
Mm-hmm.
And so I can't say that coffee is organic, even though it might uphold and still be even better than coffee that's been certified as organic. So in short, I would actually say no in the realm of coffee.
Right. Okay. Good. And that's good intel. Would love Shauna's input on that, because she obviously is in the nutrition side of the world. And let's talk about single origin versus blend, because I think that's a really important aspect of quality and just flavor profiles. What can you speak to that?
I can. So I mean, we offer both. There's no really right or wrong answer in there. Single origin. If you're looking at it from a country specific lens, we offer our single origin coffees. One from Mexico, one from Guatemala, one from two from the U.S. So between Hawaii and then Puerto Rico, so two single origins there. But what's nice about a blend is then that's where the other level of art kind of comes into play. And similar to my mom in the pastry chef world, you get to open up that kind of creativity level when you're starting to compare and contrast different flavor profiles and adding, maybe a little bit of nutty flavors, more graham flavors to a nice full body, rich chocolate undertone flavors from Puerto Rico. So in our all-American blend, you have low acidity from a really light, versatile, smooth Hawaiian bean, but with the richness that comes from Puerto Rico, it just adds kind of a layer of creativity and complexity that you wouldn't otherwise get having them alone. But then there's also the benefit when you're tasting something alone, you feel like you're really just tasting something directly from that farm, and you just have a great mental picture. Exactly. Right. But then in a blend, then you have connection with two different places, at least in our case. So, and you get to support two people at the same time.
Well, and some people blend to maintain consistency and to avoid, if that inconsistency, when you're just one source, your coffee would be changed, year after year based on, what the humidity and what the weather's like, right? So you would be affected by some of that as well.
Right. Yep. Also, I see a question here. A lighter coffee has more or less caffeine. That is,
yeah.
I'm curious to know what you guys think.
I don't know. I would imagine that lighter coffee has more caffeine because you didn't break it down in the roasting process.
Yeah, well, that's very interesting. That's what most people actually believe. But since becoming a roaster and roasting a ton of different coffees and a lot, the caffeine actually is not all that volatile throughout the roasting process, and you don't cook off the caffeine. It's actually pretty stable. And so when people think that there's more caffeine in a lighter roasted coffee, if they're going by weight, there is, or no, there is not. Because what happens is you're cooking off the rest of the bean. Mm-hmm. So in a dark roasted coffee, if I were to have a cup of coffee of just dark roasted beans, I would have less weight in it because the beans have expanded more, versus a lighter roasted coffee is more dense and it will have more beans in it in a cup, if you were to take a tablespoon per se. But if you weigh the coffee, that will get you to the same amount, and it would take more actual ground dark coffee beans to get to the same weight as it would a light roasted coffee. But then that yields there's actually probably more caffeine in the if you were to go by just sheer number of dark roasted coffees than a light roasted.
Nice. Great answer. That's totally true. The volume, and you're drying it off more as you roast it. Well, my favorite part of the show, Harrison, we're talking coffee. 3 things we need to do now.
Oh yeah, 3 things we need to do now is, well, you want to make sure that you're buying fresh roasted coffee, because we know that makes a difference in the cup. But then it's another layer to that is, where's it coming from? And I know we kind of touched on it before, but so many places, it'll just list 3 continents that the coffee is coming from, and we really like to zero in on, okay, we want to support these farmers, and just think that that's pretty important to consider when you're going out buying your coffee and drinking it every day, is where's it coming from? And then 2, grinding it fresh before drinking it. I think that plays a big role in getting the cup quality that you want. And then it's how you brew it. I like the French press. It gives that kind of deeper flavor profile, more texture as an immersion style of brewing, versus something that might be more conducive for a lighter roast and more kind of drip style.
Awesome. And obviously, West Coffee Company, you guys roast almost to order, so like you're making it fresh. We got some really good questions about your company. Is like, do you offer monthly subscriptions?
We do, yep. So you can go on our website, you can place an order for 1 bag, or we have a 5% discount for monthly subscriptions. So if you want something to be delivered to your home, either bi-weekly or monthly, we can definitely do that, and do currently do it for a number of folks.
And show us your K-Cups, because I think that's one of the reasons we got connected.
So we actually got these in. We got these in a week ago, and our first batch inventory, and they just sold out yesterday. So it's been great. They've been flying off the shelves. A little bit. What's better about these K-Cups is, 1, they have 10% more coffee in them. I told them when we're gonna make them, we're gonna make them right, and so I was like, let's max it out, totally put in more coffee than some of our competition does with 9 or 10 grams of coffee. So we maxed it out with 11. And then also, what's different about the coffee in here is I actually roast it, and we roast it down here in Texas, and then have our co-packer make them. But so it's not a manufacturer putting in a different type of coffee in there.
Another great question is, what quantities or sizes can we buy in? Because it sounds like you sell really large quantities too.
I'm sorry, what quantities or sizes can we buy in? Oh, for the K-Cups, the boxes are right now 24. We have a whole wholesale catalog. If you're looking to buy the 100, we can do that. And then for other coffee, the size quantities, you can buy an 8-ounce bag, a 12-ounce bag, a 5-pound bag. But if you are looking for a kind of business or communal coffee service, we have all sorts of good coffee products that we can cater for those types of events and situations.
Jennifer's also asking, do you do gift baskets?
We do gift bundles. I don't have actual baskets. Would be a little bit tricky in the mail. But I mean, that definitely, if you wanted to come pop up by the roastery, we could, do probably figure something out. But one of the gift bundles is a Skylark gift bundle. Which something I'll share here that most people don't know is the bird actually has a name. His name is Skylark, and so that's what the gift bundle is. So the ring, I don't think it's in this logo, but on your bags you'll see a ring with 2 dots on the side. So kind of more about the logo. That's the eye, the peephole of the roaster with the 2 bolts on the side, and then Skylark in the middle of it. But to answer your question, we do a gift bundle called the Skylark gift bundle.
Man, so interesting. I mean, I think you're like hitting the nail on the head. Is like, you got to know your quality. You got to know where you're sourcing. I love the idea that you guys roast to order, because that just gets it that much fresher, right? Stop buying from the retailers. They're, or check the dates if that's what you got to do. But no, it's just such interesting information in this world of coffee, and like coffee is not just a commodity. I mean, I think it's a currency, and you're right in it, Harrison. So good to have you on the show today.
Yeah, well, thank you. I really appreciate everybody joining us, and yeah, hopefully we get some good feedback, and always love to continue to improve. And if you all have any questions, definitely find me or reach out via the website. It'll get to me somehow.
Yeah, we're gonna put you on the chat. There's other questions on there we didn't have time to. We'll put the links to how to order, but I'll put also links to information on how to like find out like if where the coffee origins from, if there's information on that, because I think that's going to be really help the community understand what they're buying, what they're getting, and who they're supporting. I think it's so important that you really build a business around sustainability, but also supporting the community and know your farmers. I think that's kind of like the ongoing motif. People are giving you like thumbs up and hearts and all kinds of stuff when
Nice.
you talk about the farmers. I learned a lot today. I don't take caffeine, even though people think I'm on caffeine all the time. I don't drink coffee, and I think but I love it. I love the smell of it. I love the taste of it. It's just I just run hot.
Awesome. Yeah. Well, we have a great decaf. So if you don't do caffeine, you should try our decaf.
Well, and that's what really triggered me is when you said, "Oh, there's this process." So now I want to learn more about that. Like the chemist in me, the engineer in me wants to like learn that process. And maybe I will start drinking some decaf. But we'll put in an order. We want Expert35 to get an order of your caps. So officially putting an order, and it's recorded on the air.
Yeah, I just saw an order come in for Shanna Tatum. Thank you, Shana.
Oh, that's awesome. All right, Harrison, thank you so much. We'd love to hear back. Maybe in a couple months, as like your processes change, we want to hear what's changing as the U.S. is opening up again. And best of luck with your roasting.
Thank you. Sounds great. Talk soon.
All right, we'll talk soon. Man, that was so interesting. That was so incredible. I've learned so much about the process. I hope you guys did too. Ask more questions. By the way, text Expert75 to get direct access to Harrison. You'll be able to put orders. You'll be able to learn. While he's not a boutique, there are places that will make a coffee to your specifications. But man, take it from the experts, man. They make such good coffee, and just from the notes and from everybody else talking about it, it's incredible. So Expert35, that will get you guys directly connected with him and able to put orders in. Again, we'd love bringing you guys new industries, new experts. Text Expert35 to the number on the screen and have them join the conversation. I'm Gabriel. We'll talk to you soon.
Let's come together, and together we will find a way. You got questions, we got solutions. You got problems, we got resolutions. Visit expert35.com. No need to worry, just remain calm.